With this documentary, we want to explore IT opportunities in the northwest of Ireland. We as graduates will face this situation when we finish our third level education in May. What are the opportunities? Can we as graduates really have a chance of getting a job in this region when we finish? Or is it just a case that the IT industry in Ireland is just a Dublin phenomenon? Pre-1990, Ireland was, in the eyes of the world, an economic and social backwater, riddled with government corruption. For the most part, it was reliant on agriculture and handouts from the EU. Immigration, especially in the West, was rampant and robbed the country of its brightest and best talent. Yet in the 80s, despite being some of the worst years in our history, things started to change for the better. The governments of the day, led by either Fianna Fáil's Charlie Haughey or Fine Gael's Garret FitzGerald, realised that things had to change. They reduced spending, lowered taxes, and started to open up Ireland to investment. This was achieved with numerous tax incentives for large corporations. This, coupled with the largest economic growth ever seen in American history, led to the so-called Celtic Tiger, and Ireland has never looked back. The single biggest reason for this expansion and growth of the early 90s was the explosion in software and the machines to run and create the software. The computer games industry, the web, computer animated films, Java, Windows, etc. became part of our lives in the 90s. Companies invested in the technology to improve their businesses and increase productivity and therefore profits, while the IT companies created new and improved technology. The net result of this was an amazing expenditure and investment. The country that benefited most from this was us, the Irish. US companies looking to expand their business in Europe saw something in Ireland. What they found was an English-speaking country with a well-educated workforce and the lowest corporation taxes in the world. They liked what they saw, stayed, and in the meantime they created thousands of jobs. As Ireland started to get a good reputation, other American corporations looking for European bases began to come. The rest, as they say, is history. The cornerstone of any successful economy is its people. In the past, Ireland's best asset was its cheap labour, which foreign and indigenous companies exploited. Now companies locate to Ireland because of the skills that the Irish have. Institutes of technology and the universities have seen huge increases in the numbers attending. IT Sligo is no different. It has been at the heart of developing the Northwest by providing third level education to its inhabitants. IT Sligo, like the other third level institutions, has put a big emphasis on the IT, especially software development. The head of that department is Michael Barrett, himself a graduate of the institute. He has been the head of computing for 7 years. He has overseen the development of computing courses in the college.
I'd be responsible for the academic management of courses in three broad areas in the college: in the accounting area, the office information systems area, and in the computing area. The department currently would have around 500 students. Those students will be split across approximately 10 courses in the area of computing, office information systems, and accounting courses up to level 7. In addition, there'd be about 40 staff currently in the department as well across those three disciplines.
Are you happy with the quality of graduate being produced by the institute?
We are. Just last year, the honours computing graduates all were placed in employment very quickly, and we're finding from the feedback we're getting from the industrial placements in third year and all the computing programs, the companies generally are very happy with the graduates that they get, or the students they're getting at that stage, and many would continue on with the companies that they would.
In your opinion, are there opportunities for IT graduates in the Northwest area?
It's a bit limited at the moment. With the growth in Sligo as a gateway city, with the various technological developments that brought the metropolitan area network that was put in over the past year, it should make Sligo a far more attractive place. The problems previous to this were things like resilience in the network. That's all being sorted out now, and also it's kind of important to note at this stage that where there mightn't be a lot of computing companies as such, over half the graduates would end up in companies that wouldn't be computing companies but in an IT department in a company. So a lot of our graduates would end up in county councils, banks and various companies whose core business wouldn't be computing.
Do you feel you get enough support from the government?
Well, there's always more that can be done, but I feel over the past number of years we've got money from the HEA, and that's enabled us to do a lot of work upgrading computer labs and that. So from a couple of years ago, when maybe 6 or 7 years ago, up to now, we've all our computer labs are Pentium 4. We've invested heavily in multimedia software over the past year, networking hardware, that sort of thing. But and we've kind of a schedule of work that's going to build on that next year as well. So yeah, we're happy.
Another factor in the development of the IT industry in the Northwest has been government intervention. There are numerous agencies involved in the development of the Irish industry. FÁS, Science Foundation Ireland and the County Enterprise Boards are some of the agencies that help small businesses to start and grow each year. The government, through the Industrial Development Authority, have been steadily industrialising the country since 1949. In 1994, as the Celtic Tiger began, the Industrial Development Authority split into 3 separate entities. FÁS was established as the National Policy Advisory Board for Enterprise, Trade, Science, Technology and Innovation. Enterprise Ireland was established to promote homegrown companies. The Industrial Development Agency has the sole responsibility for attracting foreign investment into Ireland. This agency, known universally by its initials of IDA, has been the biggest single contributor to the Irish economy. It has encouraged some of the largest companies in the world to locate in Ireland. The IDA divides the country into 9 areas. The Northwest is one of these areas. It has offices in Sligo and in Letterkenny. The man overseeing the region is its General Manager, Joe McHugh.
The IDA is a semi-state body. It is responsible to the Department of Enterprise, Trade and Employment, and our role is to attract inward investment into Ireland and to work with the companies that are overseas companies that are already here in Ireland to get them to grow and expand. So in a way we're a development agency responsible to government.
From your years of talking to companies in the IT industry, what do these companies look for in their graduates?
Well, I would say the first thing is that they're looking for some experience, and if you're looking at a greenfield operation, you need to hire people that have a number of years of working in the industry. So having a cluster of companies in which to pull staff from is important. The other piece that we would see is very important is, as I mentioned there earlier, the ability to attract new graduates, and increasingly as technology changes, it's very important for employees out there in industry and graduates to keep their skills up to date. So the opportunity to do lifelong learning, stay abreast with new technology through courses in the institute is vital.
What advantages does the Northwest have in IT terms over the likes of Dublin, Galway, etc.?
Well, that's a question we get asked quite a bit. Why choose the Northwest as opposed to Dublin? I suppose the biggest factor that we're seeing at the moment is that there are lots of graduates that have left the region, have gone to work in Dublin and of elsewhere. They're increasingly looking to come back to the Northwest, so there's a big pool of people looking with existing skills. In addition, you have a number of institutes in the Northwest. You have Letterkenny Institute and the Institute here in Sligo. You also have NUIG, and you have the universities on the other side of the border. So there's a big pool of new graduates coming into the job market, and that's of huge importance to companies looking at setting up. Can we get the right people? Is there an ongoing supply? are those people, do they have an opportunity to improve their skills, lifelong learning, all of that. So that would be the big advantage at the moment.
What disadvantages does the Northwest have?
Well, I suppose if I look at Ireland, we've become very sort of Dublin centred, in a sense that a lot of activities happen in Dublin. If you look at it from an access point of view, particularly international access, you have two main airports of international standard on the island, Shannon and Dublin. So again, access to those, you're looking at a number of hours, so location is one. I think secondly, the trying to develop a cluster of like-minded companies, can be difficult. And again, we've been making inroads in that, in the sense that a number of companies have come to the region. We want to build on the positive message that they're giving to try and attract others.
The most important people in this discussion are the graduates themselves. It is them who will be facing into the world of work. What are the views of the employees? What do the graduates have in mind when they finish third level education? Do they want to stay in the Northwest or head to the bright lights of the cities? To answer these questions, we have come to Ballina and to Lionbridge. Lionbridge are a testing and localization company based in Ballina. They are one of the few large IT companies based in the Northwest. David here has been employed by Lionbridge since graduating from IT Sligo. He represents the minority of graduates of IT Sligo by staying in the Northwest. How easy was it for you to get a job in the Northwest?
It was actually easy enough for me. I was lucky because at the time I was actually approached by someone that worked here and said that there was positions available, so I didn't actually have to do much looking. So I can't really know how difficult it would have been at the time.
What do you think the benefits are from staying in the Northwest?
Well, I think the cost of living in general is probably lower. I still live at home, so I'm commuting every day, so you have your travelling expenses or whatever, but I think as opposed to working in Dublin or somewhere, the general cost of living is an awful lot less.
Do you envisage yourself staying in the Northwest to the medium to long term?
In the short term, anyway, yes, but medium to long term, it's hard to know. I think maybe to further my career, eventually I will have to move for a certain period of time, even if it's just for a couple of years.
Do you think that by staying in the Northwest you are missing out on career opportunities elsewhere?
To a certain extent, I'd say, yeah, because the majority of jobs, you have a greater selection of jobs in, let's say, Dublin or somewhere, and probably fair, more competitive salaries or whatever.
Are there good career opportunities within your company?
Not at the moment, nothing too great, but that's not to say that won't change in the future.
The result of our survey amongst the next crop of IT graduates here at IT Sligo show that 65% of those graduating this year will not stay in the Northwest for their employment, and 61% of those will be moving to Dublin for their employment. If you look at the papers, you see that employment opportunities as a whole are not great. Job losses in the Northwest are the highest in Ireland. The same fate has befallen Sligo. Seihan Media has closed with the loss of 150 jobs. So what are the opportunities in the Northwest for an IT graduate? The fact is that the Northwest remains the poor relation in the country, especially compared to our friends in Dublin and on the East Coast.
And this is our